What is up, guys? So for this video I wanted to discuss who I think will be the main villain of The Flash Season 5, which will come out in like 5 months in October. And at this point we have absolutely no idea who the main villain is. There was a lot of speculation about who he was. There was like a leaked line from the season finale that a lot of people talked about, and it kind of confirmed who the main villain was, but that line was never in the episode. Now, the writer or the showrunner, I think, of The Flash said that there was another cliffhanger for the main villain that was cut out, which means it's probably that line. That means the Season 5 main villain was probably confirmed, but at the same time, that might not be the same thing. So, for this video, I'll be going over who I think the main villain will be, as well as explaining who the main villain will be if that line is actually or was in the episode but was cut out. So with that in mind, let's start the video. So the character that is rumored to be the Season 5 villain at this point is Cicada, aka David Hurst. The reason he's speculated or rumored to be the main villain is because of a line that was actually cut out of the season finale but was leaked. So the line was that something with a lightning dagger, and he has a lightning dagger in the comics. Now this isn't confirming anything just because of the leak. I don't think it was confirmed as a line from the episode that was cut out, but we know that a line or a scene from the episode was cut out that was a cliffhanger for the Season 5 villain. Along with this leak that is seemingly true, it's very possible and very probable that Cicada, aka David Hurst, will be the main villain of Season 5. And as main villains go, he's not the most interesting main villain. I think his power set is interesting, his backstory is pretty interesting, but I mean, he doesn't look like just based off they'd have to have a really old actor for him, because he was born in the 1890s and he's immortal, but I mean, he's still really old, and I don't think that would work as a season villain. But this is Season 5, and a lot of people have compared Flash and Arrow. I've compared Flash and Arrow, and if it's anything like Arrow, Season 5, the main villain of Season 5 will be the best season villain ever. So maybe they could pull it off with Cicada. Maybe they could switch it around a bit and make him a little less like his comic book counterpart. Either way, though, I think I'm not really sure what I think about them. I think there are other characters who would work better as a season villain, like other characters that I'll mention in this video. But either way, I'm sure the writers know what they're doing, so I am at least a little bit excited for this main villain. So the question is, who is David Hurst, aka Cicada? Well, his backstory begins in an awfully depressing manner. Well, first of all, he killed his wife. Maybe by mistake, I'm not really sure, because it says he really regretted it, so it's probably on purpose. And because he regretted it, he wanted to kill himself. Before he can do that, though, he was struck by lightning, and because of that, he thinks he has a connection to the Flash. It's possible that this lightning was from the Speed Force. I don't think they ever explain where that lightning came from and why he has that connection to the Flash. I'm sure they do, but I'm not really sure, like, if they do or how they do that on the show. I doubt he's gonna actually have. I doubt he's gonna be hit by lightning. I doubt he's gonna get Speed Force powers like this, just because they already did something like that with the Speed Force Storm and the bus metas coming out of the, like, getting powers from the Speed Force. So they're probably just gonna not give him powers and just giving his lightning dagger. But at the same time, I'm not really sure. They're probably just gonna give him powers actually, but in a different manner than him being hit by lightning. But this lightning gave him like a connection to the Flash, or he believes he does. He doesn't really, for some reason, like, he knows how the Flash got his powers, and he thinks because he has the same accident he's linked to him, which is probably what the whole storyline of him is about. But his powers is that he can steal the souls of people using his lightning daggers, which aren't about part of his powers. His lightning daggers are just like his one of his weapons, and those lightning daggers can steal the life force of a victim. And if that happens, then David Hurst or Cicada gains 100 years on his life. So if he kills enough people with his lightning daggers, he can live. He's basically immortal, which I'm sure they're gonna use that on the show as well. He has a psychic link, so if he uses his lightning daggers, like he cuts somebody with his lightning daggers, they're basically connected to him. I'm not really sure what that means, but that's what it says. So I'm pretty sure they're probably gonna use like most of these powers. Sometimes they take characters and they don't use all their powers, but I feel like they probably will use these powers, because they're slightly more interesting than I expected them to be. Just like reading them off, just now talking about them, they're a little bit more interesting than I originally thought, but they're still not very interesting. There's still other characters who I think could make better main villains than Cicada, especially when it's just Season 5. Like, I think they're obviously gonna be more seasons than this. they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel for characters like Cicada, because again, he's a character I've never heard of. They've never used him in any other form of media. He's obviously not a very popular character at all. He's only appeared in like 22 comic books, and he hasn't appeared in a while. He doesn't even have a New 52 version of himself, so it's really weird where they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel so quickly. Like, it's only season 5. If it was like season 8 or 9, then I'd get scraping the bottom of the barrel for these unknown characters like Cicada, but right now there are still so many unused big characters that can be used for season 5 as the main villain, which are characters that I will be going over right now. First of all, there's Cobalt Blue, aka Malcolm Thawne. I've mentioned him in a previous video or two, and I think he could make a very interesting villain. I honestly want this season's villain to be a speedster again, just because I really missed the speedster battles, speedster races in season 4. We barely got any of that, and it would be just cool to see another speedster again. They used 3 speedsters in a row, which they shouldn't have done. They should have done 2 speedsters, and in season 3 a non-speedster, season 4 a non-speedster, but then it says in season 5 a speedster, but it doesn't seem they're doing that. But either way, I would prefer a speedster, and Cobalt Blue is a speedster. He has this connection to the Allen family and the West family that could be pretty interesting, in my opinion. He could be played by Eddie Thawne's actor, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I mean, it's possible. Also, it's possible that they could do this thing that he's from the future, and he has this, and that could be connected to Nora Allen's mistake that she made, that she mentioned. So I think that Cobalt Blue, aka Malcolm Thawne, could make an interesting season-long villain, mainly just because I think, first of all, his costume's cool. I think his concept is cool, and I would prefer a speedster villain this year, but he's definitely not the speedster I would prefer over other there are other speedsters on this list that I would prefer over him, such as, first of all, there's a speedster who I think should be the main villain, but I don't think he should be the main villain as much as Cobalt Blue should. But Daniel West, aka the Reverse Flash, I think could make a good main villain. He is a speedster, and I know they've already used the Reverse Flash, so if they want, they can keep the costume because the costume's awesome. They can change the name, maybe like the Speed Demon, because I think that would really fit him. It is another character, but they have done amalgamations of characters in the past, so that's fine. Like the Future Barry Allen and Savitar, they did that, and they could do Daniel West and Speed Demon, like combine the two and just have the costume and namesake of Daniel West, or the human namesake of Daniel West, but the supervillain namesake of Speed Demon. And I think that could be a pretty interesting main villain for a season that might be a little too similar to Zoom, like in tone, like he's a Speed Demon, which was one of the nicknames of Zoom, I'm pretty sure, like he's a demon, so maybe that's a little too similar. But either way, I think this is a really cool costume, and I think it could make a good, interesting main villain. But this is the character who I think should be the main villain the least out of all the characters that I mentioned on this video, maybe even less than Cicada, just because he's a little too similar to Zoom, and they've already done Reverse Flashes in the past, and I don't really see where Daniel West can fit into the universe with the West family. So I guess like this is basically just an honorable mention if this was a list. And now we get into the characters who I definitely think should be the main villains of the week, other than Cobalt Blue, because I think the season, other than Cobalt Blue, I think he should make a great main villain. But these next 2 characters I think should definitely be the main villain of any season going forward, or this season, just because it would be kind of a travesty if they were never the main villain of a season. Actually, make that one character. I was gonna do Gorilla Grodd, but I feel like they can't do that yet. I think it's a little too expensive. I think later in like the seasons, like it's season 9 or even 10, they should definitely do Gorilla Grodd when it's easier and cheaper and like less expensive and easier to do in the future. I think maybe they're saving. Maybe that's why they haven't used him yet. They're saving him for when it's actually doable. So I was gonna say Grodd, but I take that back just because it's not very possible. But a character I think is possible to be the main villain of the season, and a character I think everybody wants to be the main villain of a season, and this season especially, is Godspeed. Now I think like Godspeed, what they can do here is I already have like a pitch for a season in my head, because I think this could be a really interesting season. Is that at the beginning of the season, Godspeed, or August Hart, gets his superpowers, because in the comics he got the superpowers from the Speed Force Storm, which already happened on the show, and nobody got anything from that Speed Force Storm, which I think was a pretty dumb tease, and they did something else with that. But I think that some other way Godspeed should get his powers. August Hart should get his superpowers and originally be a superhero or just a hero in general, and later in season 9 in episode 9 become a superhero, but then like episode 15 he turns around and like really starts killing people, which is this thing in the comics. He wasn't really a villain per se, he was just a guy who he was just a superhero who started killing people, and Barry wouldn't have that, so I think that can make an interesting main villain for a season. That would be a little weird, just because for the first 14 episodes there wouldn't be really a main conflict, because Godspeed would only be the main villain for the last 8 episodes, but I think they could work around that just by making a secondary main villain for the first 15 episodes, and I don't think that would be the same problem as the one on Arrow Season 6, just because I think he should be like a main character for the first 15 episodes and the last 8. So he would get enough character development for the last 8 episodes, unlike Ricardo Diaz, who was the main villain for the last 8 episodes, but for the first 13 or 14 didn't really get any character development. So maybe not episode 15 for Godspeed, maybe episode 12 or 13. That would be like a great time to make him a bad guy. But either way, I think Godspeed, just because his costume's awesome, I think his character's really cool, and he's one of the best new villains, or probably is the best new Flash villains from the comics, because he only appeared in 2016. That was when he debuted in the Flash Rebirth, or DC Universe Rebirth with the Flash. So I think he would make a great villain. I think they should definitely use his costume, his backstory, and the whole storyline would make just a great season 5, or maybe even season 6 or 7, I don't know. But if I had to choose, I think he would be a great main villain for this season. But anyway, who do you think should be the main villain of season 5 of The Flash in the comments down below? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.